think it's important to not look at shooting any differently than you would any other sport, but to get really specific with it, like a martial art. All right, because of how much technique goes into this, not only from a physical standpoint but from a mental standpoint, in the sequences you have to go into. I think that it's really important to understand that most individuals that are doing anything active don't have as much of a weakness problem. If we're looking at this, and I'm big on analogies, if we're looking at this like car alignment, because one of my things is I say that I fix car alignment on people, and you're not going to have a tire wearing raw without part of your suspension being too tight and part of your suspension being too loose outside of a car wreck, right? Just naturally over time from potholes and speed bumps, right? So if we're looking at shooting consistency, right, and you're a right-hander, you're going to slightly be putting that left hand out in front of the right hand. So even if you're staying square, you're going to have potentially one shoulder a little cockeyed or moved forward, depending on your dominant eye, right? And so it still always comes down to fascia, or what part of the suspension is too tight.
This episode of the Colion Noir podcast is brought to you by Vetter Holsters. Welcome to another episode of the Colion Noir podcast, and joining me is the man that keeps me together. What's going on? I call him Dr. Man.
Yeah, just Travis is fine.
Yeah, I'm not calling you Travis. No, okay, yeah, and like in all seriousness, how long have you been working on me?
Probably since 2019.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because that's when I started working with Fortis.
Yes,
it was about 2018, so I don't think it was too far after that.
Yeah, when Satan's getting me hurt and shit.
Yeah.
And stuff. Well, not really. I was kind of hurting myself.
Yeah.
But
well, don't we all?
Pretty much. So for those people that don't know, well, a lot of people don't know. They don't know.
Most people don't know me. Yeah.
So who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. So to break it down, I specialize in preventative and post-surgical rehab. So my secret sauce is that I just blend things together that a lot of other people do. I am a licensed chiropractor, but I'm also board certified in physiotherapy. And throughout a 15-year career, I've just dug deeper and deeper into soft tissue work. Okay. And so my thing is that most therapy places that specialize with orthopedic rehab, they don't, the people that do all the strength training don't do as much soft tissue work or joint work. The people that just do the joint work don't do as much soft tissue work or strength work. And so I just blend a lot of that together. So all I care about is the result. The first 8 years of my career was in a large family practice where I was mostly getting surgical referrals from surgeons that were a lot more conservative. And so they were just telling me, Travis, do more, Travis, do more. And then it turned into you get 6 weeks to fix this disc injury. And we're not fixing the disc injury, but to basically, juice the last part of the juice out of the lemon as we can. And so sometimes it would work. And what it helped me do is it helped me realize how much just stabilizing joints with soft tissue is involved with helping, people feel better and function better, regardless of what the MRI looks like.
Yeah. The crazy thing is like, I know, people don't probably think about it as much, but with what I do, like there's certain things I can't deal with. Like I can't have going on. Like for instance, like recently, like I kind of hurt my shoulder when I was doing some kettlebell work, and I didn't realize how bad, I guess, technically, or at least from the pain threshold, until I went out and started filming with Peter, and Peter was making fun of me. He's like, "Oh, my daughter hurts," because when I punch out, see, like I kind of got it there just now.
Yeah.
Like I was getting all of this. It was just painful.
Sure.
Right. So I'm like, because it's like I can't go to the range and do gun reviews if I can't punch out and shoot with a gun, or I have to learn to shoot one-handed or something like that.
Well, like a couple years ago was the first time that you had problems during a film, and I think you were showing me a video where you were out in a field and it was your Achilles.
Yeah. So like the running and gunning stuff.
It was running, but it was like a tactical hike.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just a flat surface track or concrete. You're, in a field.
Yep.
And so it's a lot of variance for rolling an ankle or whatnot. But, we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's no different for me than working with a fighter or a golfer as far as like movement specific. We have to have your body ready to handle the terrain or the movements that you need to be going on so that your body can handle it and not just flare up.
Yep. And I think a lot of people kind of undervalue, and that's why I wanted you to kind of come on here, because it's like, we have the guns for protection and things like that. But I mean, there are certain things like, for instance, I think about, let's say you are in like an active shooter situation and you got to take off real quick, in certain movements, we are getting older, right? And so to be able to have that mobility and function and just being functional in that manner outside of just having a firearm, as I've gotten older, I've learned how important that is, especially when certain pains and stuff start kind of happening in that regard.
Yeah. And you and I haven't talked about this before, but in the first 10 years of my career, I was working on a lot of specific PD. And so if I'd have someone coming in, no matter what their job is within the police department, I'm trying to reverse engineer their activity. So if they're getting out of a squad car and they're the driver usually, I need to make sure that if they've got a left-sided like limb issue, that their first step is toe out to get around the door or to hide behind the door. And so if I'm rehabbing a knee, I got to make sure that I develop a rehab protocol and soft tissue protocol that I can keep them safe, because I know that movement right there could be a life-changing one.
Yeah.
And so it's no different than the orthodox striker that throws a lot of hooks, right? And always moves that direction, and trying to reverse engineer and throw spaghetti with patients is one of the funnest things I do. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I've got to give a quick shout out to Vetter Holsters. They're now sponsoring the podcast. I've been using their light tuck kydex inside the waistband holster, and what I really like is how adjustable it is. You can tweak the ride height and cant to get it exactly how you want. Plus, they've got holsters for over 450 gun models in 75 different colors, so you can pretty much find whatever you need. But here's the thing that really sets them apart: their customer service. I've heard so many stories about how they've gone above and beyond to make sure you're happy with your holster. And with a lifetime warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's clear they stand behind their products. If you're in the market for a great holster, check them out at betterholsters.com.
So from like a shooting standpoint, I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, what are some of the things, like, from somebody who does shoot a lot? So, like, I know, like, with me, shooting pistols, there's a lot of this, kind of a lot of this, and things like that. And then, with rifles, there's that, so forth and so on. So if I'm somebody who does a lot of shooting, right, and I want to make sure that I maintain my mobility, like, what's some things that I should be kind of focused on in terms of making sure I can always do those things without having to deal with pain here, pain issues there, and things of that nature?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's important to not look at shooting any differently than you would any other sport, but to get really specific with it, like a martial art. All right, because of how much technique goes into this, not only from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, in the sequences you have to go into. I think that it's really important to understand that most individuals that are doing anything active don't have as much of a weakness problem. If we're looking at this, and I'm big on analogies, if we're looking at this like car alignment, because one of my things is I say that I fix car alignment on people, and you're not going to have a tire wearing raw without part of your suspension being too tight and part of your suspension being too loose outside of a car wreck, right? Just naturally over time from potholes and speed bumps, right? So if we're looking at shooting consistency, right, and you're a right-hander, you're going to slightly be putting that left hand out in front of the right hand. So even if you're staying square, you're going to have potentially one shoulder a little cockeyed or moved forward, depending on your dominant eye, right? And so it still always comes down to fascia, or what part of the suspension's too tight, right? You hear me say a lot, your back left suspension's too tight, but your front right tire may wear are too raw. Like with the shoulder, with you specifically, not to give away all the HIPAA information on camera here. Like most people have.
You have my consent.
Thank you. It's always nice when the patient's in front. But like shoulder impingements are the most common shoulder injury.
Yeah.
And what that just means is that the muscles under your arm, or the muscles that end up getting, whether you're getting into position 3 with shooting and you're pushing out, or whether you're on a computer all day, or whether you're driving with a gangster lean, right? The muscles.
Was that directed at me?
Yes. Oh, the muscle that pushes that shoulder, the muscle that pushes forward. We know you like cars. The muscle that pushes forward is actually in your armpit. So that gets tight right in your armpit, right? But the result of that is it causes tissues to get pinched due to the compensation from that movement, essentially.
Gotcha.
So it's very normal for anybody that's done any type of athletics or that's physical to sit there and go, pain's where the problem is.
Yeah, right? That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
but just because I'm twisting my shirt right here doesn't mean it's not pulling from other spots, right? And so sometimes the pain's down here, but the cure's right there.
Okay.
And so what we do with this a lot is it goes back to what I really preach a lot, which is I'm a fascial specialist, really what it is. After all these years of working with patients that have bad looking or shitty looking MRIs, with arthritis, with a labral tear, with partial rotator tears, sometimes with full rotator cuff tears, it really comes down to, if we're given that analogy of the car, is the frame bent or not? If the frame's bent, I'm sending you over to my surgeon. I try to treat every patient like a family member that I like, right?
Yeah.
And so it's one of my common lines that anybody that sees me knows. But it's really, I don't want to try to waste people's time. And it doesn't help my reputation to try to fix things I don't fix. So first line of defense is, how bad's the problem? Does it need imaging or not? If the frame's not bent, then I get to throw spaghetti with patients and sit there and say, all right, where are you too tight? Where are you too weak? And the biggest thing people can do for themselves is start taking soft tissue mobility seriously. All right.
So what does that mean?
Soft tissue mobility means the fascia around the muscle, the sausage casing around the sausage. All right. Okay. The fascia is what is in between the skin and the muscle. And sometimes it surrounds a muscle and sometimes it surrounds groups of muscle, and it's directly responsible for fluid and nutrients into the tissue and waste products out. So when we talk about waste products, everybody that's worked out's got sore. Yeah. Well, that's a byproduct of the muscle breaking down and then building back up, right? Well, if you don't do that and you've got, let's say, an old bad knee on the left side, all right, because we play basketball really hard, all right? Or you've got some type of meniscus tear. It doesn't mean you necessarily need surgery, but kind of like a cavity in your teeth, it's not going to go away on its own, right? And you can't just brush and floss it away, right? So that fascia gets inflamed within 12 to 36 hours. It reformulates more in a cross-linked tissue versus a parallel tissue. Okay. All right. The parallel tissue's more flexible, and it allows for more contraction and more interaction with fluids in, waste products out. The cross-link, you think of it like a cavity, right? It gets tighter and weaker. And a lot of my athletes might not even have pain as I try to work with people to understand their feel versus real, but they'll just say, I don't feel like I can engage the tissue enough. Most people come to see me because of pain, right? Yeah. But what gets fun with people is once they start to get that idea of like, all right, I'm foam rolling, I'm massage gunning, I'm lacrosse balling, because that's what I'm talking about. If we get to the nuts and bolts of this, to be too overwinded, like I am.
No, you're good.
Is what I've found is I'm a big proponent of static stretching. It just doesn't work as well as dynamic stretching. I'm a big proponent of dynamic stretching. It just doesn't work as well as soft tissue mobility, which is physically putting pressure on the tissue, the foam roller, the gun, or the lacrosse ball. I don't care what toothbrush you use as long as you're using one. And the more consistent you get with that, the more of an internal dialogue you have of, oh, this is how tender I usually am on my lat when I roll it because it's my left side because I'm slightly more pushed out here, or because I'm an orthodox fighter and I throw a lot of 1s and 3s. So I just use this at a 2-to-1 clip versus my power hand. Gotcha. And so if you can develop that relationship, which means once or twice a day for a minute or two, massage gunning or foam rolling in the patterns, it's hard to mess it up. All you got to do is get used to putting the pressure on there. Then on the day that you go and you're doing your pre-workout and you go, well, shit, this is way more tender than it normally is. I feel fine punching, or I feel fine going into position 3, right? But I only feel it when I push on it. That's a pre-injury. And so then that's the whole nuance of like taking care of your body better, whether it's a tactical agent or whether it's a striker or any type of athlete. The more that we can get a relationship with understanding how our fascia feels, the more it's not just injury preventing, it's performance enhancing. Those things go hand in hand.
Gotcha. So from a protocol standpoint, there isn't one that's better than the other, like gunning versus foam and rolling versus static stretch. Because I've had the antiquated perception that just stretch and I become more flexible and all this other shit. And then sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if I can ever get that flexible because my body just really kind of doesn't want to do that. Yeah. So like if you're going like from a protocol standpoint, somebody who wants to be preventative, right? Sure. And say they're hitting, I don't know, let's say they're hitting their 27-ish. Or something like that. Sure. And they're hitting that part where things are starting to tighten up.
The first time in life where they get an injury and it doesn't just go away and they're like, shit, I feel old. We all go through that for sure. Yeah.
So what do you, just kind of a general purpose protocol, do you think that what should that be on like a daily basis, I guess?
Yeah, no, you should treat it like dental hygiene, fascial hygiene. Like really when it comes down to it, what I see with the general population, since about 20% of my patients are professional athletes and about 70% are white collar, very, very active people that are more on purpose with their physical self and trying to prevent and promote and performance enhance. Like just getting started with anything is there. Now, if we were to talk about on the other end of the spectrum, like I like gunning before I work out, before I'm active. Gotcha. And so part of my postdoctorate's in clinical neurology, the nerves that go up to your brain that tell you information like light touch, deep touch, vibration, joint motion, it's all the same nerve. So I like to describe it as like 635 here in Dallas, right? Gotcha. It's multiple lanes. It's 5 lanes, but like the HOV lane is vibration. All right. The brain interprets vibration before it interprets whether the joint's moving, light touch, deep touch, temperature.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so you can get to geek out a little bit, you can get those little receptors that are telling your brain how flexed or how contracted, all right, which are called muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs. All right. You can get the brain firing those and getting that neuromuscular connection, the highway opened up a lot better for activity, especially for fast twitch movement with vibration before. But like, I like a PVC pipe. Once you get used to it, I like a PVC pipe afterwards for like more of a recovery.
Okay.
Because I can put more pressure. I can spend time on a spot that maybe feels a little bit more tender and, practice and play. The main thing is there's so many different people with so many different histories that their bodies might respond. I can take the same injury on two elite athletes that are built the same way, same everything, and one responds better to this and one responds better to that. Same thing with injury prevention or treating. If I'm correcting an injury, one responds better to instrument-assisted tissue release from me scraping you till you bruise, right? Right? Or the other one might respond better in the same area. That tissue might respond better to acoustic shock wave. Okay. Right. And so that's why I kind of blend these things. I don't give a damn what I use. It's all about the result. Right.
Yeah.
And so I've played around with a lot of these techniques over my 15-year career. And I've just tried to hold on to the ones that tend to, like, in a full encompassing rate, like, work the best. And then I keep them in the tool bag if we need them. But I've got my main direction that we're going to use to, like, get the job done.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've kind of started, based off your recommendations.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm kind of like I definitely undergun, I definitely under roll, and I definitely understretch.
Yeah.
And I started noticing, like, I start making unnecessary noises when I move.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't need to make these noises. So I don't know if it's mental or not.
Yeah, who cares what noises you make? There's people that laugh when they're in pain. There's people that hold their breath when they're in pain. There's people that make those noises.
I definitely hold my breath when you're scraping.
Yeah, everybody does not want to breathe when we're doing that.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like when you're scraping, it hurts so good and then it starts hurting too much and then you're like, okay, stop, and then afterwards you're like, oh, yeah. Yeah, but it's
I try to really
it still scares me.
I try to really mirror people, right? Most people can handle more than they can think, right? And as you know, with me, I'm the Band-Aid rip guy. I'm so comfortable with knowing what we should and shouldn't do orthopedically that I tend to get fast results on a majority of my people just because we take it to that next level safely.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to do is bring someone in and not over communicate with them on my whiteboard about what our goal is and the method of madness and scare the shit out of them, even if they feel better going. I can remember my second year in my practice, I had just a white collar individual with plantar fasciitis.
Yeah. I'm dealing with that right now. Actually.
And with that, it's a very aggressive treatment that I did on year 2, all right, with a scraper. And he had this pain every day waking up in the morning. And every time he'd step, it'd feel like glass was hitting his feet, right? And I treated him once. I got a call from my office manager saying, hey, so Mr. Jones wanted to talk to you. He doesn't want treatment, but he wanted to talk to you about, his symptoms. So he came and literally stopped at the threshold of the rehab area, wouldn't cross the door frame, and put his hands on my shoulder and said, hey, listen, just so you know, this is the first time in 2 years I haven't had any heel pain. But I legitimately had nightmares. Woke up with you scraping my feet. I can't do this. I can't do this. And I go, hey, listen, the good news is this is the Band-Aid rip. Like, I never have to go that aggressive again. Yeah. And in fact, I'm a teacher of fishermen. I'd give her a fish. I'm going to teach you what to do with the lacrosse ball, with the frozen water bottle, whatever I had at that point in time, because there were no massage guns, right? Yeah. And let's just keep this going. You don't need a dental cavity visit every visit. This is now into hygiene mode. But it's the running joke.
Coming to you made me realize I could never be a secret agent.
Oh, right.
Because I won't survive torture.
Yes.
I will not survive it.
Yes. I may or may not have secret, contracts with detectives in town to help people speak a little bit better and freely.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So from I can never say the freaking name. Plantar fasciitis. Oh, stop.
That's good. You got it.
Yeah. So how much of that happens to kind of be with weight, right? A friend of mine, he's like, it just means you're overweight. And I was like, you trying to call me fat? And I'm like, I feel some type of way.
Yeah, it's relative. I just literally got here, 45 minutes ago from treating patients, and I had an individual I was talking about weight with. And it is kind of that same conversation. I don't want to be like too cookie cutter with this broad response.
Yeah.
It's difference on the patient. Like rarely do I say that weight is involved with an orthopedic condition unless it's a 50-pound problem plus. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But like this individual goes to a gym you and I met through.
Yeah.
All right. And he's an ex D2 football player and he can pack some pounds on him.
Yeah.
But for him, his goal is he wants to get back to jiu-jitsu and not have his disc injuries that don't need surgery. But he's, a real estate agent for residential and he buys and flips homes too.
Yeah.
Right. And so for him not to flare up, I told him, yeah, you're too fat for that.
Gotcha.
Right. And so it does become relative.
Yeah.
Listen, you can be really overweight and, you can eat sugar, but if you're brushing and flossing appropriate to the sugar you're eating, you can prevent most of cavities. Does that make sense? So I don't usually get too much into the weight unless we have a specific goal that we're working for.
Gotcha.
That and some other antiquated problems that are mixing into like old injuries that we need to go in there.
I mean, I'm trying to lean out. Which I've been trying to do for like the last 10 years.
It's not trying, you have.
Yeah, but it's going
the last year.
It's going
last year is
going very slow.
Yeah,
and according to Safe, I'm still fucking fat.
Everybody's fucking fat. So, my first time I was in his gym, I was rolling, winning, by the way. And I believe he called it the 30-year-old white guy challenge. All right, where it was a wrestling takedown challenge, and I'm winning like 6-2.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to best of 10, and I'm down, and my shirt comes up, and I'm probably another 15 pounds heavier than me, and he just touches my stomach with his shoe and goes, "I wish I could just fucking cut this off." All right, and I go, "Me too, whatever you need, let's do it."
Oh my god!
So everyone's fat to save because
pretty much,
your relationship with your body is kind of a first initiator on how you treat the rest of your life.
Yep. And I to be fair, he got me down to my lightest weight.
Yeah.
And I remember it. I was because I'm floating around playing with like 212 right now, 211.
We all need big brothers like that.
Yeah. Because I was a little beast when I think I was like 189, 185 or something like that. And I was like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now I got old, and I'm all like, I just want to eat cookies and drink my whiskey. But nonetheless, though, like just being able to kind of have you at my disposal to a degree, right? Because I usually come in panicked, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, my knee hurts. Like, what's going on?
Sure.
What's going on? Is it going to explode? Things like that.
That's not just you. But yeah, no. That is normal because at those moments you start realizing what it's like to not have what you want or need, especially when it's involved with your profession.
Yep.
Right. And so that's why I really try to bring like fascial hygiene. It's as simple as like equating it to dental hygiene.
Yeah.
Right. And it should be that important. And so that's really what I end up talking a lot about is we get fast results faster than general physical therapy just because we're putting this stuff together. And then it's a really big goal of mine is to try to help people not come back. So I like making myself available so that Collins can text me on a Sunday afternoon at 6:00 and be like, I'm freaking out.
Yeah, I was
I'm
doing
freaking out.
metrics and I think my calf is broken.
Like, what should I do? And I'm like, it's a big breath, right? So it's always two questions, right?
Yeah.
Is that joint safe to push through pain? What's bark, what's bite?
Yeah.
And then here's how we go push through that pain safely and when to do it and how to do it. So I've gotten pretty good at like communicating and reading on that. And while also keeping the like doctor behind me, which is some of my good mentors were like, if there's 1% thought process that you want to MRI something, MRI, right?
Yeah.
And so having such a big framework of good mentors on the other end of the spectrum, the surgeons, the pain specialists, they're all really conservative and I'm really aggressive on my rehab. We've really met in the middle. And for every person that I sound smart to, there was someone else that taught me what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Right? So
fair enough.
I'm there with you on the anxiety of injuries.
Gotcha.
Right?
And I think a lot, we're kind of in the same age range.
100%.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I know like my generation, we have this physical Peter Pan syndrome where I think we kind of grew up in the age of like being very active.
Yeah, always
fitness.
outside.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like even though we've kind of aged, we still very much are in that kind of mindset of like, oh, I can still do it. And we do, But we don't realize how I won't say prone to injury, but if we don't do the preventative stuff or, understand the kind of mobility aspect of things, that's when I end up texting you at Sunday in the evening.
Yeah, I think that we're the last little remnants of the previous world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where everyone was outside.
Yeah.
And so we have this, like, most of us grew up. That's the great thing about athletes that can do every athlete as a kid, because it makes you a little bit more well-rounded, right? Whereas we get caught up in this thing, like here in Dallas, where I treat so many kids that are on, the elite clubs, right? At 9 or 12.
Yeah.
And they're into one sport already. Right? Instead of 3 sports year round all the way through high school, even though I'm from a smaller town and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I lived in a town like this. But like, you kind of get that thing. Yeah. But I also feel like now we're also on this teeter totter where information's so quick. We're the ones leading this thought process on like getting things quickly and switching over into a more docile, life, which is also said to our bodies, like, we don't like this, as in the 27-year-old that's like finally figuring out, oh shit, I can't just like walk this off anymore. Yep. And so we've got this new age, and in the last 5 years there's been this huge push in like life longevity. And I feel like my big role in this and where my passion is life longevity from the structural aspect. Yeah. And you can't see inflammation of the fascia generally on general images, right? And so it's more of a feel thing. And that's one thing I'm very thankful for my doctorate in chiropractic, is that there's a lot of the basis of just philosophy of chiropractic that's based off feel and results versus like, you can see it on an x-ray or an MRI that you need to move this joint right here. It's not that clear cut and dry. Gotcha. So it puts me in kind of a framework from how I was taught to sit here and look at fascia the same way. Whereas I've gotten all these people over years with shitty looking MRIs, bone on bone arthritis, but we go control the controllables, and maybe it's only 20% contribution of the inflammation. But if you go control that 20%, that joint still has more miles left on it. You know what I mean? If the brake pad's worn down halfway, right? More analogies from me, but you make sure the suspension's taken care of and the tires are rotated. You can get more life out of the tread. You can get more life out of the brake pad, and that's kind of where I've just always kind of done this, and that's kind of how I've fallen in this realm of like injury prevention, performance enhancement sort of realm. And so now I'm just taking it even further with all the other stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, you've definitely helped me out.
Yeah. No. Tremendous. And I should have started this out by saying I appreciate you having me here, and I appreciate the opportunity to always work on you. Yeah. Because it sounds cliche, but whenever I hire clinical staff, and I try to do this every day, the one thing I can't train is give a shit. And you have to have people that give a shit about you to like really care about what they do and be passionate about it, because that is you calling me on a Sunday. Like I'm freaking out because I need a shoot with Peter, or I need to, I need to go work out because I don't want to get off this trend I'm on where I've already am down X amount of pounds, or I'm working towards this physical goal.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. Freaking. Now, for anybody who is interested in, how do we find you?
Yeah, so we're reworking our website, but the domain's not going to change. It's www.reformorthosport.com. Okay. We also own Reform Regenerative Health, where we are contracted to do regenerative medicine for the UFC, but we also do it for everyday people. We do hormone replacement, we do peptides, anything that I can help people live longer, better, that meshes with the physical part of what we do. Travis Mann DC on Instagram. We appreciate the opportunity to help. We're right in North Dallas.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thanks very much for coming on, brother.